Yeah, you will have the some information here on entering on entering this panel bar. That means you require some a message here. What is the message here? On enter, you need to get a alert message. Alert message, what is an alert message here? Alert, enter the item 1. If you enter the item 1, you have a item 1, enter item 1 alert message. And then on leaving, alert message here. The what is an alert message? In this case, leaving item 1. For example, execute this one, execute this one. Here, if you click here on, for example, if you click here, then there is a message is here, there, leave the item 1. Okay, and then you enter into the item 2. For example, I want to enter the item 1, click here. That means enter the item 1 message. That means when you leave the item 1, it gives a alert message. When you enter into the item 1, it gives a another alert message. Here similarly, you will apply this alert messages to the different items also. Here, for example, leaving item 1, that means when you enter in the item 3, that means the same information. You may write the same information for the remaining items. Here, for example, you may execute and you may write and execute this. Yeah, I wrote that information for the item 2. Here, the item 2, I'm going to write in the same thing I am copying. For example, 2. When you enter in the 2, that means the label here is a 2, and then here 2, and that information here is a 2. Let us assume for the item 2, on entering the item 2, for example, execute this one. Yeah, for example, if you click the item 2, item 2, entering the item 2, okay, and then leaving the item 1, that means it gives us some two messages here. I'm going to leaving the item 2, and then I enter into the item 1. Here, that is a case. That means you may apply this kind of information for the item 3 also. For example, I'm going to applying for the item 3. For example, the item 3 here, 3, and then item 3. For example, execute this one. If you enter into item 3, there will have the some message. For example, I mean item 1. If you click the item 3, there is a alert message is there. Enter the item 3. Yes, that means leaving the item 1. That means you left the item 1 and then enter into the item 3. Here, in this way, you will apply this type of alert messages for the each and every panel bar item. The next important concept in this case here is the next important concept. Okay, next important tag here is a panel grid. Here, what is exactly panel grid? Here, the panel grid appears like this. The panel grid, in the sense, it's just like a table here. What is exactly panel grid? Here, panel grid is placed into corresponding cell. Here, you are placing some information to corresponding cell in a row. That means in a first row. First, you are sending some information. If you take this one, here first I am sending the 1, and then after that 2, after that 3, after that 4, and then that means I am taking the 2 columns. For the 2 column, first it fills the first row, after that it fills the second row, after that it fills the third row. Like that, it will fill the next information. Here, that is a corresponding cell in a first row until the number of columns is reached. At that point, the next component sent to the next row and placed in a first cell. This is a purpose of panel grid. That means this appears just like a table. Here you have some differences there. What is the difference here? The panel grid and panel table, here it does not process a set of data with an iteration label. Here the table performs the iteration. Here it does not perform the iteration process. That means one after another, sequential order. It will place the sequential order one after another, but not performing the any iteration. For example, I'm going to form the panel grid like this. Here, how can you form? Go to salesforce.com. Here, if you go to the salesforce.com, here it will appears like this previous program. here panel grid program. I'm going to removing this one. Here for example, I'm going to remove this one. After that, I'm going to writing the panel grid. Here the panel grid, how can you write the panel grid? Apex colon panel grid. Here it is a panel grid. Here that means the panel grid consists of different attributes. Here what are the different attributes for the panel grid? Here one is a vg color, border, and then caption classes. Different attributes. For example, I'm taking the columns. For example, I'm taking the columns as a 2. Let us assume 2 columns. You may expand next 3 columns, 4 columns, and then 5 columns, and then id. Let us take a simple id. For example, the panel grid id, panel grid panel 1. Let us assume here you will write the different elements. Here how can you write the different elements? For example, I'm taking the output tag or output label for writing the different elements. For example, apex colon, let us take a simple output text. I'm taking the output text. Here what is displaying some information. Here this particular output text having the different values. Here what are the different attributes are there? Id, value. Here what is the value in this case? Let us take value is a simple output text 1. For example, I'm placing the 1 2 3 output text. Here 1, and then you may write the different attributes. Here you may take the id. Let us assume id equal to any. For example, let us take one. Let us take one. This is an id. If you execute this one, that means it is a simple one panel grid. For example, I'm going to write in the second one. Here that is a, for example, I'm placing the 2. Let us assume 2, and then for example, id equal to t double 2. Let us assume id to 21. No problem. You may different id you will take. Okay. For example, if you execute this one, appears like this 1 2. That means I'm going to writing another label, another field, another output text. For example, if you write the another value, for example, another value 3. Let us assume another value here is a 3. Let us assume 3. Here that means the next value placed in a next row. For example, I'm taking the columns as a 2. That's why I'm taking the next value in a next row. For example, if you take the another value 4, the 4 value takes in a another row. For example, let us take another value 4 4. Here a different id. That's why here, for example, 4 another value. Here if you execute this one, another value. For example, a column size equal to 3. Let us take the column size equal to 3. For the column size, first it will fill the first column. Yeah, first it will fit the first column. After that, it goes to the fourth field. Here that means this is just like a table format. That means if you need table format, that means you may add for the panel grid one attributes. Here the border attribute, the border, you may take the any integer value. You may consider the any integer for the border.